You ever see something so wrong, so out of place, that it just snaps you right out of your own world, makes you forget you're supposed to be the guy with all the answers, all the money, the nice house on the hill? That was me, that morning, staring out the window as the sky just cracked open above the city, gray clouds rolling in like a bad memory, rain pouring down so hard you could barely see the driveway. And right there, tucked under a tree like she was hiding from the world, sat Maid hunched over a plastic lunchbox, soaked straight through, shivering like she'd been left behind by everybody and everything. I mean, let me paint you the scene. This is the kind of place where the hedges are trimmed like a military buzz cut, marble fountains bubbling like a postcard. The kind of mansion that says, yeah, we made it, even if you have to remind yourself some days. But here's Maria, in her faded blue uniform, hair plastered to her cheeks, picking at her food while the rain mixes with her tears. She didn't even flinch, just sat there, her food getting soggy, like comfort was something she'd given up on a long time ago. And that right there did something to me. I'd built my life on the idea that money fixes everything, that if you work hard enough, you can buy respect, happiness, maybe even love. I was Richard Hale, maybe you've heard the name, maybe you haven't, but for years, I treated people like Maria as part of the background, like those folks who just quietly keep the gears turning while the rest of us go about our grand movie. But that morning, something snapped. I got out of my car, Italian leather shoes be damned, and stepped into the mud, calling out to her. She barely reacted, tried to hide her lunch, wiped the rain off her face, like she was the one who'd done something wrong. I asked her why she was out there, but she just whispered an apology, eyes glued to the grass. You ever feel your own house suddenly turn cold on you? That's how it felt. I walked away, told myself not to think about it. But the truth is, her face stayed with me all day. Couldn't focus on meetings, couldn't enjoy the taste of my fancy dinner. Not even the ticking of that overpriced watch could drown out the image of Maria out there in the rain. That night, over roast lamb and crystal glasses, I leaned over to one of the senior staff and asked about Maria. The guy looked uncomfortable, said Maria usually took her breaks outside, that she didn't want to disturb anyone. That answer just didn't sit right. So the next day, I did something I hadn't done in years. I paid attention. I watched her from the window, followed her with my eyes as she wrapped her little lunch in a plastic bag and headed for that same tree. This time, the rain had cleared, but she sat in the same spot like it was the only place she belonged. I waited until she just started eating, then walked over this time, not as the boss, just as a man who wanted to know. I asked her why she always ate outside. She froze then, real quiet. She told me, "Sir, I used to eat inside, but one day your guests came early. They said my uniform smelled like detergent, that I shouldn't be near the dining room. I didn't want to embarrass you again." You ever get punched right in the gut by your own reflection? That's how it felt, hearing her say that, like all the power, all the money in the world meant nothing if I couldn't see the pain right under my nose. She tried to smile, tried to make me feel better, and that's when it hit me just how much she'd swallowed to keep the peace in my house. Over the next week, I started noticing things I should have seen all along. Maria always showed up early, not because anyone asked her to, but because she had to walk for miles from some tiny room on the edge of the city. Her husband was gone, car accident years back. She was raising a little boy on her own, working nights cleaning offices, days working for us. Always polite, always soft with the other staff, like she'd made a deal with herself to never be a burden. And man, the guilt, it came down on me like that rain. So one afternoon, I drove out to her neighborhood, left the Mercedes a couple blocks away, so I wouldn't stand out. The streets were cracked, little kids running barefoot, houses patched with plywood and hope. I found her placey, if you could call it that, and through the window, I saw her son sitting at a wobbly table, studying under a busted lamp. On the wall behind him, he'd drawn pictures: a doctor, a hospital, and a woman in a blue uniform. That's when it landed. The kid's dream was to become a doctor so he could help people like his mom. That night, staring at the city lights outside my window, I realized I'd built skyscrapers, but I'd never built anything that actually mattered. Next morning, I called Maria to my office. She looked like she expected to get fired. Instead, I handed her an envelope inside, a scholarship for her son, all the way through college, and a promotion for her, managing the staff with a real salary, benefits, the works. She started to cry, couldn't even speak at first. I told her, "You don't have to say a thing. Just promise me you'll never eat in the rain again." You know what's wild? The house felt warmer after that. The staff started smiling more. Even my own kids seemed to notice. I spent more time learning people's names. Their stories found out half my crew had lives just as tough as Maria's. I realized that being rich isn't about what you keep, it's about what you give. Every time I walked past that tree, I'd remember the day my heart finally woke up. Years passed. Maria's boy grew up, graduated with honors, became a doctor just like he dreamed. I was right there in the crowd, clapping louder than anyone. Maria thanked me, but honestly, she gave me more than I ever gave her. She reminded me that true wealth is measured by the lives you lift, not the things you own. So let me ask you, what would you have done? If you saw someone out in the rain, swallowing their pride, so you didn't have to feel uncomfortable, would you have stopped or just kept driving? Have you ever realized too late how blind you've been to the kindness right under your roof? Drop your thoughts below kindness, humility, empathy, what matters most? Share your story. Let's get a real conversation going. And hey, if this story moved you even a little, hit that like, leave a comment, share it with someone who might need a reminder today. That's how we start, one act at a time, one heart at a time. Sometimes all it takes is looking past the rain and seeing the person who's been there all along.